Is he counting down?
Yep. He'll tell you when to go. 5, 4, 3, 2.
Greetings, everyone. I am Dr. John Berry, and welcome to CrossTalk Waterloo. We are in the business of exploring the Cedar Valley, and today we will be looking at the Waterloo Cedar Falls Symphony Petting Zoo. Joining us is Jim Miller, Sponsorship and Marketing Director for the Symphony, and Dee Vandeventer, the one and only, if you will, the former president, and she is still on the board, an outstanding and extraordinary fundraiser. Go, stay tuned, and we'll be right back. Welcome back, and it is truly an honor and a privilege to have two outstanding individuals of our community that are involved with the Waterloo Cedar Falls Symphony, the one and only Dee Vandeventer. And I would like to start with you, and also Jim Miller. And Jim and you and I go back a ways, if you will, if you will. Dee, can you tell the listening audience how you got started with the Waterloo Cedar Falls Symphony?
Sure. I mean, we can go way back to classical music when I was watching Looney Tunes as a child. And I think many people don't realize that classical music was most of the background music for Looney Tunes. So if you have a listen to that, you'll go, oh my gosh, it was classical music. And then it just kind of stuck with me throughout the years. When I moved to town here in '77, a really good friend of mine, Susie Heaton, asked me if I would join the Symphony Guild, which was an organization that has evolved into now the Friends organization.
Yeah.
So that's how I kind of.
How long have you been on the board, Dee, the Symphony Board?
I was on the board for 18 years.
Okay.
Yeah, most recently now as past president, but served 2 years as president.
Do you, given your breadth and depth of knowledge regarding the symphony, do you plan to stay on the board, not just in that capacity?
Well, my term ended actually last year, and I think 18 years is probably a long time for one person to serve on a board, but I continue to be involved with the symphony. They can call me anytime, and you know, it's one of my passions in this community.
Yeah, that's outstanding. And Jim, chief cook and bottle washer, if you will.
Mine was a long road to get here, and you know, when I think about the subject matter for today, which is the petting zoo, I thought this morning of how I got to where I'm at today, and actually started in a different field. So I was always a singer from age 5, but I actually walked past a neighbor's house on the way to the grocery store once a week. And back then we didn't have air conditioning, so the windows were all open, the doors were open, and I heard an accordion playing. And I went home and asked my mother, could I take accordion lessons? I knew nothing about it. Today most kids don't know what an accordion is, and that's how I started. So I played for 8 or 9 years, and later on a lot of folks know that I then started playing guitar and other instruments and went on the road around the Midwest singing, which I've done all of these years. And then in retirement, 3 or 4 years ago, the symphony asked if I would come and help with some of their programs, and so I've been helping part-time with the symphony ever since.
Oh, outstanding, outstanding. So a brief history of the Waterloo Cedar Falls Symphony. You know, here there's that kind of unspoken split, but it's good that it's entitled the Waterloo Cedar Falls Symphony. Did the symphony begin in Waterloo and end up in Cedar Falls, or how did
Yeah, there's a good history to that, John. It did start with a lot of university professors and students playing in the symphony. This next year we'll be celebrating our 90th season.
Wow.
So we are one of the oldest. I think we are the oldest in the state.
Yeah.
And so over the years, they played in various locations. When I moved to town, they were playing in Kirschenbach Auditorium. And I always joke about going to that auditorium, and at the time it was needing some repair.
Where
and,
was that located in?
West High.
West High.
Yeah, and you'd ruin a pair of pantyhose on the chairs back then. So there was talk many, many years, wouldn't it be nice if the symphony could have its own home? And they could get it built, but operating the symphony would be a big problem on a day-to-day basis as far as financial. And so that was about the time in the 80s, the university was about to engage in a campaign. And after talk with the symphony, said, well, what if we put it on our campus so we could operate it, and you all help us raise the money that was needed for that? And so that's how we got to the Gallagher Bluedorn and the home of the symphony.
Outstanding. How much, if you are at liberty to say, does it take a rough guesstimate to run such a dynamic and influential operation annually? Does a symphony cost, for the most part?
Symphony, it's under $500,000, but it's a lot of money that we have to raise. And you bring up a good point that only somewhere around 30% of our budget is covered by ticket sales. And we not only need to continue to boost our ticket sales and open up to a wider audience, but there's a lot of other fundraising, as Dee knows, that we have to do. So we have program advertising that assists with that, but we have so many wonderful people in the community that sponsors, whether it's our education or whether it's a symphony concert or particular music. So it's a year-round job to work on that.
So now that you have this platform, right quick, for a couple of minutes, you can make a pitch to support this dynamic and powerful cultural enrichment asset that's in the community. How can one go about helping with the annual fund? I take it you have an annual fund?
Yes.
And how would they contact you to address the annual fund if they want to give $1 or $2 or $3?
Jim,
that's
one of your bailiwicks.
Yeah, it is. And over the years, I should mention that our Friends group has, the name occasionally changes, but the fact still remains, we would like anyone out in the community, the entire Cedar Valley, and the entire state, if anyone wants to donate any amount to the symphony, we would love to have them just either call or to make out a check or to do whatever. And we would add those folks to our Friends group. This year, I think they're going to call that group the Symphony Membership Experience, and for that, they'll get to receive our newsletter, our social media. They'll know everything that's happening with the symphony, any ticket offers or anything like that.
So how do they go about doing that?
They can do that a number of ways. I do want to mention a lot of people call the symphony office. However, everything with the symphony is handled through Unitix, and so they can dial 319-273-4849 or go up to the Gallagher to the ticket box office at any time and get tickets. We have information listed on our website, which is wcfsymphony.org. And they would, if you try to do something online, again, that goes back through Unitix. But many ways they can get a hold of us. They can donate that way. They can do whatever they would like. But yeah.
I'm excited about, and it's been 2 years now that Tri-County has partnered with the symphony and all of the exciting things that happen. And I know that you have various programs that deal with youth, and the fact that you are broadening the exposure, and it's not just about classical music, but integrating classical music with gospel and other things such as that. But as it relates to the youth, what are some of the exciting programs that you have going? And then we're going to talk a little bit about what you do for our youngsters, the 3 to 5 year olds at Tri-County Head Start.
Sure. Well, we have a number of education programs that, in order to continue to expand and to keep those programs there, we really need people's help on any level with that. And we have annual youth concerts. We have a day in April when we have over 4,500 kids come in to the Gallagher Bluedorn, three concerts. And
Yes.
they get to experience our musicians, which Dee, you might have a comment too, but I just wanted to mention a couple of things that I hear over and over about our symphony orchestra compared to folks in the Midwest is the caliber of our musicians, and how much people, after coming to a concert, feel like we have those top people in the country. And when we talk about our education programs, all of the youth in the area get to experience and network with and pick their brain, all of those musicians when they go do small groups. We also do, and not only you mentioned our lollipop concerts, which we do for young families, and we do that throughout Waterloo and Cedar Falls. We've been at the Hearst Center, we're at the Gallagher Blue Dorn, we're at this Center for the Arts in Waterloo. Sometimes we're at the Downtown Community Center in Cedar Falls. We have programs all over. And then our artistic director, conductor, Jason Weinberger, actually goes out into the schools and sometimes goes out with our musicians. Again, might take 3 of them, might take 8 of them, and they'll go out and do a short concert, network with all the students in the community. But again, we've realized these last couple of years as those programs have expanded, and all of the education we work with. Also, I should mention we work with the Suzuki program at UNI, and we have, at times we go in and work with choirs and we'll have them come and sing. Dee, we also do, is it the Northern Iowa Youth Orchestra?
Yes.
They just played with the symphony.
Played with the symphony, which was fantastic.
Yeah.
You know, the thing is about classical music, whether you like it or love it, or maybe don't even know much about it, it's been around for a long, long time, probably longer than any other music genre that has been. And as we think about our youth and the whole focus towards STEM, there is evidence, research that supports the fact that classical music develops the mind and makes you more ready for some of the STEM programs that are out there. So, you know, with the cutbacks in schools and what's going on in our state, we're seeing that perhaps some school districts are without music programs. They've cut back art, all the humanities. And so this is a means with our education program to expose your children to this kind of music.
Yeah, and we were happy when we did not get a lot of media attention, but it was a beneficial and dynamic event last year when you performed, a portion of the symphony performed at EMA, which is on the east side.
Yes.
And we kind of coined it, the symphony performs on the east side,
Yes.
which was thinking outside of the box. And kudos and congratulations to your board. The symphony board was there in full force. And the parents got a lot out of it, and there were a few children there. But it was also exposing the parents to symphonic music, and it was an excellent endeavor. Speaking of excellent endeavor, can you talk a little bit about, Jim and Dee, the petting zoo? Because I love the petting zoo.
Yeah.
And I don't want to steal your thunder about the petting zoo, but it is really, the kids look forward to it, and also the parents that are there.
Well, I think it's one of our best programs,
Yeah.
especially for outreach, because we can take it anywhere. We've taken it into schools, we've taken it into classrooms, into parks. You'll see us at the College Hill Arts Festival, Sturgis Falls. And at first when somebody said, yeah, we have this petting zoo, and I'm like, what is that? Well, instruments. We have all the different kinds of instruments available there with volunteers who clean off the mouthpieces and things like that after every use, where children can come and try one of the teeny violins or a trombone. A lot of people have donated their old instruments that they no longer play to the petting zoos so that lots of children can experience that. And if you could see their eyes when they make that sound, because it's not easy.
The audience is seeing it now, yeah.
Oh, yeah, great, because it's not easy to make a sound out of that trumpet.
And just, I'm looking at my granddaughter, matter of fact.
Oh, there you go.
Well, yeah, John, they have brass. We just had someone that donated a clarinet last week.
Oh, wow.
My wife sent a trumpet with me to give to our new executive director, I should mention, Rich Freevert, who has come to us from the Twin Cities, and he's a trumpet player. And Kim said, well, it looked kind of beaten up, and she said, why don't you tell Rich he can have it, he might want to hang it on the wall. Well, he stuck a mouthpiece in it and played it, and it played very, very well. He said, oh, no, we're going to add that in. So, yes, it's so exciting. Artapalooza, the list goes on and on.
Right.
Some of the schools and some of the preschools each year will call and ask if we'll bring the petting zoo to their school. And so, again, it's a challenge to have staff and people do that. By the way, I would say for our petting zoo, we could always use another person who has played one of the instruments. And you don't have to be a maestro at it, but if you've played those instruments, feel free to volunteer to come and help. Maybe it's an event like Dee had mentioned, College Hill Arts Festival we normally have at Artapalooza, so many outdoor events. If you're going anyhow, volunteer for an hour. You'll
fun.
go away with what the kids' reaction, you just won't believe it.
Yeah. And the what I like about it is, first you have to plug your ears because the children they don't get it. But who knows what spark you've generated in a child. There was the petting zoo the first time we had it, and it was just this, for us, an iconic picture. It looked like the young man took to the violin like he's always been there. It was outstanding.
I should mention that one of my good friends, this is from the early Waterloo on Washington Street, the Music Corner days, when we used to teach there. My good friend, John Engelkiss, started playing trombone at an early age, and then he went through UNI, graduated, and for all of these last 40 years or whatever, he's been the principal trombone for the San Francisco Orchestra.
Wow.
You just have no idea
you have
who
no
that
idea
kid
your
is.
Spark,
The talent.
Yep.
So for the listening audience, the children get an opportunity to explore the various instruments. And what we have done, our outstanding executive director, William Kay, we have a clip. Once they play with and work with the musicians, then they get an idea to hear what an instrument can actually sound like and do.
And John, I should mention, as they see that clip, another thing we don't think about, they drop the trumpets on I mean, for parents, have your kids come and do this. If you can't hurt anything, it's
No.
used equipment,
They're mostly
we
out,
replace it. Come and get a feel for it there before you go out and buy your own instrument and decide which direction you want to go.
So we're going to have our viewing audience take a quick look at two violinists after the petting zoo. And who said that kids don't like or will pay attention? As the viewing audience, can clearly see the children were clearly into it. Nope, those were 4 and 5 year olds.
Well, and I do, Dee may have some comments, but it dawned on me that at some of our regular symphony concerts at the Gallagher, we usually don't do that at the Brown Derby, but at some of our concerts, if the concert is a little more geared to a younger audience, we will have our petting zoo there in the lobby an hour prior to the concert. And otherwise, the clip gave a pretty good idea of what maybe a lollipop concert would be. We'll have a few of our professional musicians that will do a short program for parents and kids. And we generally have 50, 60, 70 people come to those. Those are free concerts in the community at various locations. And then afterwards, they all get to go to the petting zoo, and we keep calling it the petting zoo. It's our instrument petting zoo.
Yeah.
I didn't know what that was the first year I was there. I said, "What's a petting zoo?" So
You're not alone with that.
Just
one,
a wonderful experience. Wonderful experience.
Yeah, and you can clearly see that the children were into it. And whenever we show that clip, which is actually 50 seconds long, the takeaway from the adults is, my goodness, they're into it. They really, which means that classical music will live on because the children clearly like that aspect of the process. We also get an opportunity to partner with the symphony and bring the children and their parents to the Gallagher Blue Dome with an age-appropriate performance. 1 year was Harry Potter. Last year it was
Snowman.
And that is an experience for the family as well as the children because there's cookies there and you can elaborate. Some folks dress up in costumes. So it is really a real nice on-ramping to classical music. And for the real traditionalists, they're not missing anything. It's not taking away from the dignity of classical music. Can you
Right.
elaborate on that, Dee?
Well, yeah, and you know, to dispel the rumor
That's a
that
good word.
classical
Yeah.
music is just this highbrow, a number of years ago when I was on the board, Jason Weinberger, the conductor, came to us and said, we'd like to get out of the tux and tails and the white tie because we want to make it more relatable. And so removing any sort of barriers that prevent people from coming to the symphony, we're all about. And so now they basically wear black jackets and black shirts for the gentlemen, and the women would wear, you know, something black, pants or a long dress. So it really brings it to the people, and you know, you don't have to go and wear a tuxedo to come to the symphony. Whatever you're comfortable with, and it is amazing. When I was watching that clip, you know, I've read to the children at Tri-County, and they're wiggle worms.
Yeah.
You know, you
Yeah, but
forget
you didn't
how
see
little.
that there, yeah.
They weren't wiggling.
No.
They were listening.
Yeah.
And that's going through their little brains and helping with the development, and it's a great thing.
Yeah, it is an outstanding program. And one of the things I've noticed with the block of tickets with our cultural enrichment partnership, the parents get something out of it too, because
Correct.
it's almost tantamount to moving from the east side or the west side of Waterloo to the campus. It's like they've taken a jet for 7 hours and ended up in Europe, if you will. They're looking around, but it's a welcoming environment, and the cookies and the punch helps, and everyone is extremely gracious, and the staff there, the ushers. I mean, it really is a class act, and they've always felt welcome there. What are some of the other things that you are doing to get into the community, which I think is a great idea?
Well, John, before we do that, it just dawned on me that, and I know Dee has heard this also, but so many times they think that the symphony is music from 200 years ago. They don't realize that every day on the radio and TV, all of this music and this background songs and all the, now sometimes it changes a little bit, but it's all traditional classical music, and they're so surprised to hear that it came, you know, from so long ago, and it's still held, and it's still popular today. So, you know, that's a pretty neat thing.
And I think Dee alluded to it, and I know that your maestro, Jason, does this. He gives a backdrop,
He
and
does.
he makes the composers human.
Yeah.
So X was writing this when they was homeless, or
Right.
there was mental illness, and not many folks know that Beethoven, hearing loss, and it brings the composers to life, because everyone, their trials and travails are just like today, and I've watched folks sit up and really take notice once he builds up what the composer was going through. Handel's Messiah, you name it, down on their luck.
Yeah, and as a follow-up to what Jim just said, next time you go to a movie, think about the music that's playing behind the movie.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, it's going to be classical music.
Yes.
And there are opportunities to listen to a movie without any musical soundtrack behind it. I mean, what you lose, the whole feeling and everything, because, you know, it's the humanities that gives us our soul.
Yes.
And without music, without the arts, you know, we're just marching through life. Boom, boom, boom.
Well, one of the things I like is the gospel piece.
Yeah.
Not just because I'm African American, but the fact that you branched out to do that, and I'm sure there are other music genres that you're looking at, not just gospel, but jazz.
And actually, not to give anything away, but in,
Give it away.
in another year and a half, I'd just like the audience to know our new executive director and myself and a couple of others are working on a blues.
Oh.
It could be really, really interesting. So, yeah, we have all of that going. And that's a challenge, is the programming each year. We start very early with that, and there's a group of people along with our artistic director, and they start, and then they open it up to some other folks. But trying to really widen the base of folks that get to experience, you know, what the symphony does. And I do have to mention at that point also, some people aren't aware, very, very affordable to go to a concert. Gallagher Bluedorn seats are wonderful no matter where you
Yes.
sit. And I'm just, today when I want to go to any other concert and tickets are $60 and $80 and $150 and $300, anywhere from $20 for adults, anywhere from $20 up to the $50 range are tickets. Kids get in for almost nothing. I mean,
Yeah.
the pricing, don't let that be a factor. We hope everyone can come. And I did want to bring up, not only do we have concerts in the Gallagher Bluedorn, but we try to go to other venues. I need to mention our 4th of July weekend, but also the historic Brown Derby Ballroom in downtown Waterloo is a wonderful venue. Only seats a little over 200, and so on Saturday we have a couple concerts on some Saturdays, and we have one coming up in a few weeks in May.
May 11th.
May 11th, and that'll seat 225 people at a 4 o'clock and a 7 o'clock concert. But a totally different experience. You are this close, John, to the musicians. You can almost play their instrument with them. You're that close. Just a wonderful event. And I know we might run out of time today, but I wanted to mention in the River Loop in downtown, July 6th on a Saturday, the orchestra is going to play a very patriotic concert, free to everyone. We still need sponsorships for that one. And for the first time ever, we're trying to then on either side of that date, have Waverly and Cedar Falls have the same concert in Overman and also in Waverly. We need some sponsors yet for that, but we're working very hard. So that'll be an exciting summer program.
Well, we're running out of time, but I want to ask both of you to give some closing compelling statements. I love the symphony because it's growing to be more diverse in terms of
It
what
is.
you do and engaging the community. And what I mean by community at large.
Right.
Dee?
Well, I think the programming is the thing that helps us stay relevant. And there's new composers coming on all the time. I mean, we just don't play music from
Yes.
200 years ago. There's current, and then, for example, this last weekend at the Gallagher with Gary Kelly and his illustrations of Dvorak,
Oh.
played with the music from the symphony. 1,100 people there. It was fantastic. And so we have to continue to reinvent ourselves, keep it relevant, and hopefully the people will see that this is a great place to come.
Well, that's it. Please come back and thank both of you, Dee and Jim.
Please have
Outstanding
people
performance.
call me if they want to sponsor or do anything to help with the symphony. We'd welcome the calls.
Well, thank you so much. That's our show. On behalf of all of us at CrossTalk Waterloo, please stay informed, stay engaged, and stay on top of the issues. I am Dr. John Berry. Thank you for your time this time, and until next time, join us.